Hey guys, welcome to the Laying Foundations podcast. This is your co-host Davis Hambrick. Joining alongside me today is Walker Lott. What's up, Walker?
What's up, Davis? How you doing today, man?
Good man. I'm excited. We're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna put Walker on the mic today and really try to grill him a little bit and get him
Here we
uncomfortable.
go.
I'm just kidding, but Walker, I'm excited about this one. I'm getting to know more about you, and hopefully, our two listeners we have get to know more about you. Both of those being our moms, but
Yeah, sounds about right.
well,
But
man,
we enjoy doing it. So that's all that matters.
that's right. We're having fun doing what we love. So, first things first. Let's go ahead and do the normal three. Who are you? What do you do? And what is your background on getting into construction?
My name is Walker Lott. I am a student at Auburn University currently. I'll be graduating in August, this coming August of 2021. Background in construction, I love Legos all my life. I got into that pretty early, had a huge Lego room, love building and just creating different types of things, really, anything you name it. I like the sets the most, the ones that you had to build and like police stations, that type of stuff. From there, I always did a lot of things with my dad. That's how we bonded a lot when I was young, and we just build projects or do things around the house, and that turned into me doing bigger projects around the house, like remodeling bathrooms and helping my sister out with her house, and pretty much becoming the family handyman,
Hmm.
and doing whatever anyone needs. But before I got into that, I thought I wanted to go into medicine. My dad's a chiropractor and medical doctor, and so I figured that's the way I wanted to go. And I really enjoyed it. I really like the surgery aspect of it. I like the orthopedic surgery because it's like building. It's like building the body back up, right?
Like
Repairing it,
Jasper
fixing
said.
it. Yeah. Um, and so I started in pre-med, ended up not liking it very much. I didn't like the science that much, chemistry, physics. Physics kind of cool, but chemistry and just things like I don't know. It's just not my forte. I didn't enjoy it. It's something I just pretty much hated to do, honestly. And so ended up transferring colleges and starting a new major in building science after my parents recommended that to me. They're like, "Oh, you should try building science out." And I said, "All right, cool. I'll look into it." And so I looked into it, and it looked pretty sweet. I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't know it was a major. I didn't know anything about being a superintendent or a project manager or anything pre-con or anything at all to do with construction. Didn't know anything about real estate developing, like nothing. And so ended up doing building science and got into it and absolutely loved it. Loved the classes, loved the professors, loved the possibilities that it gave you and possibilities that I have from it. And so that's kind of how I got into building science.
Cool. Well, Walker, tell us about building science for the people that don't know. Obviously, for us too, we know it pretty well. We went through it. But for guys that aren't, or gals that aren't at Auburn University in the building science program, what does that look like? What is this curriculum? What is it like, first day when you finally get in?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Auburn University, it's a fantastic school. It really is. They have a program. It's called Building Science. You get a Bachelor of Science in it. It is a 4-year program. Architecture is a 5-year program. That's why I say that. And pretty much going into it, you do your core classes, history, English, that type of stuff going into it. And then, but throughout that process, you start going and doing, usually mine was a little different because I transferred in. So I kind of did more sooner, but typically you'll do, one building, quote unquote, building science class a
The
semester,
pre building. That's right.
a pre-built, thank you, pre-building science class a semester. And those are construction documents, structures one, you got materials and methods, and intro to construction.
That's right.
And I had to go back in my memory to remember all
Yeah,
those.
you did better than I could, man.
Yeah. And so you take pretty much one of those a semester until you get ready to apply to building science. So you have all those classes under your belt and you have all your core classes done. And so the way building science work is it's a GPA based admission. And so you have to apply and they combine your core classes. They're worth a certain percentage, and your 4 pre-building science classes are worth a lot higher percentage. So you want to do well on those.
Right.
And so once you get all those done, you apply. If you have your GPA that's higher than other people's, that's pretty much how it works. There's a certain number of slots, and the highest ones, are going to get it. And so when you get in, um, you start your core classes of the building science program. So it's 4 semesters, 2 years, and those are, pretty much everything. I won't go into all of them, but you got estimating, you got, pre-con, you have, uh, man, what else do you have? Construction, like project management type stuff. You have different electives, like you can be a superintendent. I know, Davis, you took that.
Mm.
The field lab, which is awesome. You can get to go out and actually build things with your hands, help
Right.
people in the
Right.
process. That's the most part. It's just, people who you get to go out there and just be a light to, be a light of Jesus, and just get to show them God's love, just by going out there and serving. And it's awesome. It's one of my favorite classes I've taken. And then the professors, man, the professor is awesome. One of my favorite professors through this whole experience has been Professor Rice. He actually
Mm.
passed away about a
Yeah.
year ago at the
Mm.
start of all this COVID nonsense, but
Mm.
he was awesome. He was a really great dude. Loved his students more than
Right.
anyone. I mean, that dude just cared for his students, and you really
Right.
find that with pretty much every building science professor. They really care about the students. They want them to succeed. They want you to go out there and get a job. They want to help you any way they possibly can. And
That's
I
right.
know we have experience together with a couple of professors who are exactly that way.
Right.
Whatever I can do to help, I want to help you, and
Right.
it's awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much building science in a nutshell of how you get in there and the process of it. But man, being a student in it is sweet. It's a really good major. And they try to prepare you for the thesis, as you know, as I am coming to find out currently. And it's a really good final. It's really not a final project. It's a final accumulation of your building science career.
It is.
It
Holy
takes
cow.
every single class that you have had in building science, you apply it to this class. So
Right.
it's a good investment and idea to keep your notes and to
Right.
put them on box or something like that, because I
That's right.
I had pulled them out and had to use them before.
Right. That's right. And Walker, I want to get into the thesis because I mean you're right. It's all encompassing of all the different classes, but I wanted to land on the different routes. Like the one thing I loved about our curriculum, they made sure we got estimating, we got project management, we got
Yeah,
the field route, we even got BIM. If we want to go into
yeah,
technology, there's a side where you can do safety, there's scheduling. Like literally, our program just has it all. And you may not become the expert at all of it at that point, but you're getting to scratch the surface. So, we're talking about the building science program, and we're talking about professors and I'm hoping that there's some guys in our program that listen to our podcast. And what would you tell them now that you're at thesis? What would you tell the guys that are maybe just now getting into the program? Because for me, I wish someone would have told me get involved with extracurricular stuff
yeah.
really early. So tell me what you think about it.
Uh, you know, I think that's a really good point, honestly, because how we met was through a roofing competition team, and that was
That's right.
extracurricular. That's we didn't have to do that, but I really enjoyed that one. So that's one thing. Don't be afraid to do competition teams. Sure, they do consume some of your time, but they're very fun. You get to know the people on your team very well. You have a great time. You learn a lot about a specific subject. I mean, I never thought I would know as much about TPO
Roofing.
roofing as I do now.
Holy
You
cow.
know, and so that's a great way to learn something extra, because honestly, in building science, one thing that they don't teach you very much is roofing. And so by doing a competition team, that is a great way to learn
Right.
another scope
Right.
of
That's right.
construction.
Right.
Another thing, like I mentioned earlier, was just keep notes. Take great notes, first of all, and then keep them. Keep everything. I have kept all my books. I've kept all my notes. And honestly, it's a great decision because I've had to go back and use my books and use my notes. RS Means, for those of you who don't know, is an estimating book. It is thousands of pages of line items with prices and labor and type of materials. And it is very dry to look at. But I need it for thesis, and I had to have it for estimating, which is my first semester of building science. So a year and a half ago, I bought this book that usually people sell or throw away textbooks, and I have to use it again. So I'm glad I didn't.
I still have mine
Yeah, right. It comes in handy sometimes, maybe once in three
next to it.
years, but it comes in
Right.
handy.
Right.
Another thing I would just harp on is build relationships. I think that is a huge one, especially in life,
Like it.
but also in the program,
Right.
because you are not going to make it through this program if you do not have friends in the
That's right.
program.
That's right.
So do not be afraid to build relationships, get to know people well. Go out there on a limb, get uncomfortable, and talk to people. ask people to lunch, to dinner, to hang out, whatever, but get to know people because, some of my really good friends are in building science now. And honestly, some of the classes I would not have been able to do as well as I did or get through them in
Right.
general without the friends that I have. Either, hey, how do you do this? This is how you do it. Let me send you my notes that I took, that type of stuff.
Right.
Because like you miss things in it. And so having someone else who they might have caught something that you missed, be able to
Right.
tell you this is how it works, or let me send you what I got,
That's
that
right.
helps. That's huge.
Yeah.
And so that comes in handy, especially when you're studying for a test or when you have a thesis coming on. Now in the thesis room, we're all together. That's what I know. You didn't get to have that because y'all are all online learning, which really stinks. So I'm very grateful for that. But now a lot of us are together, and if we have a question, we just go and ask someone, hey, how did you do this? Do you
Right.
remember how to do this? What you do here? Let me see what you did. Like it is so helpful. And that's how jobs work. That's a team.
Yep.
Yeah, you're constantly going to people and asking them, hey, what's going on? Can you explain this to me better? And I'm
Right.
seriously, it's life. And so I think they do a good job of trying to prepare you for that because that's exactly the way that the thesis room is set up.
That's right. And that's where, I mean, Walker, that's exactly where I was headed. It took me, I mean, yeah. Well, let me back up here. I'll compliment you. You are absolutely amazing at this. Is going and finding whoever that person is. I'm gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna be his friend. I'm gonna go learn about him. And I don't really care, past, present, future. But let's go talk to him. Let's go be his friend. And you're amazing at that. So I'll give you that. I wish I would have learned that, before I met you in the building site. I wish I would have known that a few semesters back. But the thing I wanted to say was, you know, it took me now getting into a full time job to realize, wow, okay, they did all that stuff for a reason. They did it
Yeah.
to where we would collaborate together in hopes of whenever you go out to a job site and I'm on the field and I'm a superintendent. I'm actually can go talk to the project manager and understand what he's talking about and go talk to the estimator, or I got to call someone and figure out what's going on here, and you're comfortable because you've been in that team environment.
Right. No, it's really good. And not a lot of majors do a really good job of preparing people for that, but building science really does. And it's honestly, I'm very impressed with it. I think there's definitely some things that can be changed or improved, but that's with everything. So for anyone out there thinking about building science, give it a try. Go on a tour. Go try it out. Go walk around. They'll show you around Glory Center, and they'll show you what's going on, or different aspects of it. But it's awesome. And I know we preach all the time. You don't have to go to college, and you
Right,
don't. Trades
right,
are awesome, but this is for people who are thinking about going into building science or thinking about what major they want to pursue. And honestly, I believe that the building science major has so many possibilities that you can do.
right,
Now, I will say a lot of it is preached, GC route, commercial GC route, more specifically project manager, superintendent. I will say that's something I wish that they would kind of get away from and talk about all the different roles.
right.
But when you start getting into it and learning, that's what we hope to do with this podcast as well. Is that there's a ton of different roles. I'm more interested in the real estate development investment side of things. That's I like it. I like the construction. I love the construction side as well.
Right.
So I like to merge those two. Because development is construction and finance. It's both.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I want to marry together. Is I have this building science background. I'm inexperienced, but I know a building fairly well, a lot more than most people do, because most people don't even know what building science is when I tell them my major, And so now I have this knowledge, and I continue in growing and learning. Right now I'm trying to get my home builder's license, not specifically because I want to go out there and start building homes, but because I get to learn more knowledge through that. And if I wanted to, I could. That's how I am. I like to just go. I like to learn. I like to just go out there and learn something new. And so with building science, I feel going through this home builders program to try to get a license for it, I'm looking at all these different topics or different names and different, CSI divisions, et cetera. I'm like, man, I already learned this. Oh, I remember this. I know how to do this. Looking at a
Right,
code book, I
right,
learned how to read a code book in electrical. It's the same exact thing for a commercial building code or a residential code. And so it's definitely very beneficial if you're thinking about doing anything possibly relating to construction. I think finance is a great degree. I have a minor in it, But I think that if you're looking to do something in finance, ultimately, then also think of building science as well. Yeah, because they go hand in hand. Finance, you just learn a little bit more of the number side of it. Building science, you really get down in the weeds of how is this building actually built and how do I manage the people who build this building? Because if you know how to manage them, you're going to know how to make it more profitable towards the
That's
end
right.
and make your company happy, make your own business happy, whatever. But really, I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it.
Right. And I think that goes back to the point, guys. We had a guy on here named Lynn Shannon. It's one of a good friend of mine. He has a real estate investing firm in Birmingham, but he's like, man, I'm jealous of the guys that have that building degree because, like,
Right.
man, if you know how to build it, you can go learn finance quickly and do very well in this sector. And shifting here, Walker, this has made me want to go to the point where I wanted to ask you this. So, what made you want to get your real estate license? Is it just like you said, the home builders? You just wanted to start learning, and that's how it came up, and then that's how you got involved. Tell us about that side of how you got into the real estate.
Yeah, so I do have my license. It's on hold at the moment just because I've been going to school and everything. So I'm not using it, but I did get it. And so really the reason I got it, I honestly, I think a lot of it was a God thing. I really do, because it's kind of become a passion in me. It's like the real estate side of things, investment side of things. Just one day, I was driving home from Auburn. I live in Birmingham. It's about an hour 45 drive. It's not too bad, hour and a half if you're booking it. And I was driving and I had a free Audible on my phone, and I have no idea why. It's like a Amazon, Audible book or whatever,
Right.
and I have no idea how I had that on my phone, but I had a free one, and so I was looking through all the books, and I went past one that was How to Invest in Real Estate by Brandon Turner, and Brandon Turner is he is the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast, him and David Green, but Brandon wrote this book, How to Invest in Real Estate. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't know anything about this. I'm just going to listen to it. And I listened to it. It's like 8 hours total, of content. And I listened to the whole thing maybe in 3 sessions. Like I would be driving or I'd be listening to it at home or whatever. And I was like, man, this makes sense. This is awesome. Like, I want to do this. And so from there, I just started diving in. That was about 2.5 years ago. From there, I just started diving into it. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read a lot of different books about it, listened to their podcasts every week, all the time. I love it. And really from there, I just started talking to people in the business. I discovered I know a lot of people. One of my mentors personally, he has a lot of investment properties, and I know people that have investment properties or do development type stuff. And so I've gotten a chance to talk to them, to get to know them, to kind of have them lead me in different directions of where I might want to go. And so one day I was talking to my girlfriend's dad, and he is in medical real estate. And so he said, hey, you should try to get your real estate license, and maybe you could get a duplex or just learn the business a little bit by doing so, because he has his broker's license because he's the broker for his company. Um, and so I was like, man, that's a great idea. So I looked into it. And then one spring, I think 2 years. So yeah, I guess I started learning about it 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. And about 2 years ago, spring, I got my license. It took me 4 months or so. I did it, in between classes after school. I didn't, it wasn't, I have to do it all the time. I just took my time with it. Studied for about 4 weeks after I finished my course, and then took my test and got it on the first try. So that was awesome. And I tried to make it as a real estate agent in college, and I failed miserably at that. To be honest, I didn't know the amount of work that real estate agents have to put into it, and it's
Jeez,
honestly crazy. And I'm very
it is.
impressed by them,
It is.
and I'm very humbled that I got to experience that and fail at that,
Mm,
because now I get a huge, honestly, respect for real estate agents, and all that they do. It's crazy.
mhm.
It's really crazy, because I know a lot of people think that real estate agents don't do anything. They're like, oh man, I got to pay this commission. No, they do a lot. It's a lot for them to get to where they are, especially if they're a well-known real estate agent.
Right.
Like, they put
The
in
good ones. Right.
so much time to
Right.
get there. So
Right.
much time, more time than any person puts in a 9 to 5. I guarantee you that.
I
I mean,
know.
it is constant. It's all day, on the weekends, whenever.
Mm.
And I didn't have that time being in school. I think I'd make a great agent if I dove into it, but right now, just I don't have the time, and honestly, I don't have the it is not respectful for me to try to get to that level if I'm having something else that I'm doing on the side, like being a student, because for them, that's all they do. And so ended up putting that on hold for now. And I want to use it later. I want to use it, in the development scene, in the commercial, in the construction scene, et cetera. And just kind of have that in my back pocket because I know it a little bit more than I did. And I also have that ability to sell if I wanted to, but honestly, I'd probably put it on to another agent and let them sell it. If I was doing development or investments, et cetera. But really, that's why I got it. It was from advice of people I trust, and also just because I was curious about it. I wanted to know a little bit more about real estate in general and the ins and outs of it. And from that, I got to learn and took a real estate course last semester at Auburn, and that was cool. That was actually honestly a repeat of my real estate course, the real estate license course. So a lot of the terms that were on the test were terms I already knew or I've heard before. I was like, man, this is awesome. I got to learn a little bit deeper about them from my professor because he's a real estate lawyer, and he invests. So I got to two different sides of things, and I got to kind of revamp my knowledge of what I learned before. Kind of rehear it again and go through that. So yeah, man, that was a long answer, but that's it. It's cool. It's fun for anyone who's thinking about it. I would not recommend getting a real estate license if you're not going to pursue it full time.
That's right.
Especially if you're in college or early, like yes, do it if you can afford it. It's pretty expensive monthly payment, monthly things. It's a lot of different payments that kind of cheap. They jit people on that a lot, and I think I don't like that very much. I think the cost to do it should be a lot lower. But it is a business for a lot of companies that do offer the ability to have a qualifying broker, which is what you had to have if you're an agent. You had to have a qualifying broker over you
Right.
to represent you, essentially.
Right.
I wish the fees were lower for that. But if you're going to go in it full time, do it. Go get it. I recommend it. So there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of positives and negatives. But if that's something you're very passionate about, then try it. Give it a chance. If you don't like it, then you can put it on hold.
You learn, right? That's right. And if there's one thing, guys, if you haven't noticed by now, if you get Walker Lott curious about something, he's gonna go figure it out.
I will
My
figure it
goodness,
out.
yeah, that guy will go spend an inordinate amount of time just going to figure it out, going to ask questions. One of the things I admire about you is just going and doing your own research and not even
I
talking
appreciate
about
it.
it. Then 5 months later, you got a different license with something. I'm like, what the crap? What are you talking about? Oh
Man,
yeah,
I
I'm
just
working
like
on this.
I like challenges. I
I
like
know.
figuring things out, learning something new.
I think that's
So,
why we both pair well together.
oh,
So
you are a great challenger, or great challenger for me, and also a great person who loves challenges. I mean,
yeah.
you do it all the time. I'm very impressed by that as well.
Thank you. And just kind of so we talked about the building science program. We talked about the real estate side of things. We could go two ways. I'm going to ask you which way you want to go. Do you want to talk about thesis, or you want to talk about what we're doing right now with the podcast?
I mean, honestly, we can do both. I think we'll start with thesis and let's end it with what we hope to do with the podcast. So,
Cool.
go fire away.
It's okay. So first question: how's thesis going? Going
Man,
well?
it's going good. It's a lot. It's a lot more than I thought, especially during the summer semester. The weeks are shorter. Not the weeks, but the amount of time to do it is shorter. Excuse me. It's good though. I treat it like a work day. I'm there usually from 8 to 4. I just try to be consistent with it. Some people are there longer, but some people also show up later and work later. And so I just my goal is to make it consistent 8 to 4 every day, 5 days a week. If I do that, I have
Yeah,
a great feeling of being on time, and because
you'll
right now
crush
I'm
it.
ahead.
You
So
crush it, right?
yeah, so I'm good right now, and my plan is to work on it, this weekend and try to get a lot further ahead, and just keep on grinding next week and the week before. We got a family beach trip coming up into
There
June,
you
so I
go.
know I won't get as much work on it that week. So I'm really trying to catch up to it now.
That's right.
But it's not, for those of you who are about to go into thesis or thinking about building science, it is not something to be scared of, and it's not anything huge, and it's not anything drastically hard. It is just you need to know how to manage your time. That's really it. It's time
That's it.
management,
That's
and
it.
it is deciding what is the most important thing I need to do right now.
That's right.
So I'll go through the things on the list of instructions that we need to do, and I'll pick out the things I'm like, that's going to take me a little bit longer. I'm going to save that this is something I can do right now and get it done. I don't have to worry about it ever again. Then I can come back to something that's a little bit longer. Say, all right, cool. I can work on this for a day and be done. So tomorrow I can work on X. And so it's really just strategically managing your time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I took away from it that I loved was, man, this really taught me how to manage my time well. I was going through thesis, very beginning stages of you and I working on what we're going to do the podcast, but then
Right.
also I had a job, and it was just like people were just like looking at me like, "How are you working during this?" Well, I mean, I had to do time management throughout. So have you. And now look where it's like, okay, if I get this done and get this list, okay, I can go do the fun stuff with my family at the beach. But I
Right.
got to work there. I got to go be disciplined. And I think that's very key. There is the time management. If you learned that from the building science program, I could say that would be a really good life skill you'll learn the rest of
Oh, for
your
sure.
career in construction, because making decisions under a crunch when the pressure's on, whenever we got all this stuff going on, I mean, that's a huge part of building science. So,
Dude,
um,
I did not know that you were working during thesis. I forgot about that. I am highly impressed
yeah,
because that sounds brutal.
yeah, I mean, it really isn't. And that's the thing. It's like my aunt taught me, and this is the psychology of a human, or whenever we start this new skill, we kind of talked
Right.
about last week. It's like whenever you start something new, you think the next day you're just supposed to master it, and you're
No,
not.
yeah.
I
It
mean,
takes a
that's just
long
human
time.
flaw. Like for me, when I first started at Auburn, guess what? I've been open about it. Civil engineering did not go well for Davis Hambrick. Neither did business school. Neither did liberal arts. But wow, building science, it
Yeah.
finally clicked. So it's like I had to consistently learn, okay, what's more important? Is going out with your friends? Is that more important? Or do I need to go study tonight and have discipline and
Yeah.
say, sorry, I can't do that this weekend. And so, you start to learn it, and my aunt calls it flexing a muscle. The more times you flex it, the stronger you get, the bigger it
Yeah.
gets,
Like
the
working
more
out.
you can do. And so that sounds super simple, and it sounds like, okay, that's easy, but it really is. How many times are you going to go put yourself through that?
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I see it every day. People will come in at 9, 10, 11 o'clock, and it's like, they very well may be working on it at home. So I cannot say that they're not. But, a lot of them I'll hear is like complaining about waking up early to do it. And it's like, man, at some point you're gonna have to sacrifice. Like you're gonna have to wake up early, so you might as well start doing it now and make it a work day. And there's a couple of people from my cohort who have decided to graduate early as much, like I have,
Right.
and we are there at 8 a.m. every day
I bet.
and work till 4 or 5. They work a little longer than I do.
Hmm.
Some of them work till 4:30, 5. I like 8 to 4 because I could go and do other things as well. And I know if I keep this consistent pace, I might not finish 2 weeks early, but I'm going to finish on time,
Right. That's right.
and before the due date, and be able to have some time to spare to clean up everything and make sure it works. Whereas some people, they're not working 8 to 4. Maybe they're working like 12 to 4 or 12 to 5. And they're going to be crunched for time at the end of it, or the project itself is not going to be very quality.
All right.
And I know some of them might hear this podcast now, but like seriously though, I really genuinely believe that if you're not making time for important things like this, you're a student. This is what you have to do at this time. Do it and just do it. Get it done. And then towards the end of it, in 2 months, when we're done, you don't have
Right.
to worry about it ever again. Right.
Right.
Then you're gonna be in a job and you're gonna have to get there at 7 a.m.
Right.
Well, if
More
you're
than
in
that.
construction,
Right.
right? Or nine,
Definitely.
But I mean, seriously, though, it's discipline. It's personal. It's discipline equals freedom, as Jocko
Right.
Willink says.
That's right.
We've said that many times on this podcast, but it's very true.
Yep. And it's hard to do that. I mean, the first time, you start to think about, man, it's a hard decision to make. But again, the more times you do it, the more
It's
times you
easier.
get used to it, the more you start to master it. And so
Yep.
you just got to keep telling yourself, no, okay, I got to go do this. Just like you taught me this, which I still suck at. So maybe I don't need to bring this up. But Davis, there's going to be times when you don't feel like working out. We still got to. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Because there's not a
Yeah, I
lot of
know.
times I'm like, yeah, I want to go do it.
Didn't want to do it today, but you just got to do things you don't want to do.
That's
And
right.
that's with life. I'm not
That's
good at
right.
that all the time. There's some days I'm like, man, I'm just not gonna do it.
Mm.
But more times than not, typically try to make it a point to go and do it.
Well, I'm sure you're far better than me.
Oh, I don't
Just
know
for
about that one.
ex-athlete over here. But as we transition here, Walker, let's come to a close. I'm gonna do your famous last question, but right before then, let's kind of just talk about the podcast for a minute while I got your brain and while we're talking. You know, I have two questions for this, but I kind of want to talk about where we're going to go, but just real quickly on a high level, what have you loved the most with getting to talk about with all these different guests? We have talked to so many different people. What have you loved most in each of these instances?
That's a really good question. I don't, I don't know if I have something I have loved most. I think something that I have noticed and something that I very much thought was fascinating is that most of the guests they come from very different backgrounds.
That's
I
right.
mean, very different backgrounds. There's people from all over the country. There's people who went to school who didn't go to school. There's people who are, pastors, engineers, building science, trades, like you name it, all over. But a majority of them, almost all of them, have the same story or same similar stories to where they either started something and failed, drastically, and they changed their life direction. They have a lot of things they wish they didn't do, but they learned from it. They have people who spoke wisdom and life into their lives at an early
I
age that
love it. Right.
enabled them to be where they are now.
That's right.
And I've started picking up a common theme among a lot of these guests that we've had, and it's just everyone's path is going to be pretty similar. There's I don't believe there's a finish line, and my girlfriend says that all the time. It's the finish line is not a real thing. People always think they're going to get somewhere, and you're not. You're going to end up dying. Like I don't think anyone's ever going to get to the point to where like, man,
I did
I
it
won
all.
the race. I'm here. It's a journey. Life keeps on going, and there's
Paul said
always
he
going to be.
did.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But there's always going to be something that
That's right.
comes, and you're going to want something else down the road. That's human nature, and one of my prayers is to be content in everything. But there's always human nature of just wanting something down the road. I think that the finish line is kind of a myth. I don't think anyone's ever going to win the exact race that they wanted to win career wise. Most of these guests don't have they haven't reached the finish line in their career, but they enjoy the journey, and that's something that I picked up a lot from them is that just enjoy it, man. You know, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In
That's
all
right.
your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will keep your path straight.
Mm,
And that has been the common theme, whether they say it or not, or whether
right.
they believe it or not. But it is true,
That's right.
and it's just really cool to see. And so getting to learn from their wisdom and just a lot of their experiences is cool. It's been really fun, and I love just talking to people. Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts. And like we said, and you and me had said this before, if we have two people listening,
That's right.
and those being our moms, we would still do it because it's something we enjoy. We get to meet incredible people.
Heck
It
yeah,
gives
man.
us a reason to reach out to people we normally would never talk to. I mean, shoot, like the essential craftsman. I guarantee you, if we didn't have this podcast, we would have never met them in our entire lives. They would not have sat down for an hour and talked one on one with us. But because of this platform, we have influence. We get to share the love of Christ. We get to share uh, our experiences. We get to share their experiences. We get to talk about leadership. We get to talk to people who are really, really cool. All of our guests, every single one of them have been really, really cool, like incredible dudes. They all have their own thing, and so getting to just learn from people of all different backgrounds has been unexplainable. Like it is so
That's right.
much fun. I mean, I know you'll agree. Like it
Yeah.
is, it's wild. So what has been your favorite part?
That right there, just like you said, there are common themes, there's common threads of what you see, you start to pick up on stuff, but getting to talk to people that I know if I just went to them and they didn't know who I was, or if I was in construction, would I have a shot at talking to them? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But
Right.
getting to talk to people we have and some of the guests we have coming up, like, man, this is super exciting to
Yeah.
get to go and pick these guys' brains because now I'm getting to work for a company at Restful and Gory and get to take all the stuff I've learned from talking to these individual guys. I get to go apply it. I get to go be the one
Yeah,
that says,
exactly.
I'm going to learn from this guy and I'm going to go try my very best.
No, I completely agree with it. And it's like, I mean, even being at Brassfield or being in your position, you now have a platform of, hey, if you want to talk to someone that might not be someone you would normally talk to within even within your company, now you kind of have a platform of saying, hey, I have a podcast. Let me Would you like to be on it? Can I interview you? If they say yes, that gives you an in. Now you have something to talk about. Even if they don't say yes, you still have an in. You have an excuse, a way to come up to them and ask them something that normally you might not have that ability. And that's really cool. There's people that we've reached out to that I would have never reached out to beforehand without saying, hey, I have this podcast. Would you be willing to be on it? And some of them say no, but it starts a conversation, which is really cool.
That's right. That's right. And, to kind of close it out, let's talk about where do you hope this podcast goes? What are your dreams, Walker? Because I know, like you said, aim high, miss small.
I mean, you know, just I want to be faithful in everything we do with it, but I would love to see it become a very well-known construction podcast. We have a vision for laying foundations, and when one of them is to connect people. I would love it to be a resource for college and high school students, a place where they can find internships, they can get connected to mentors, they can find people in industry that they normally wouldn't be able to talk to, but have a way and a means and an ability to talk to these people that, like I said, normally they wouldn't. And also for industry professionals, I think it could be a really incredible resource that they can learn from the guests that we have on our show. We have a lot of people in technology. We have a lot of people uh, paving the way in a lot of different areas of construction that some people have never heard of before. And so by bringing a project manager on talking about something, or a new drone technology, like we've had a few times, or different types of technology we've had here, having a PM or a super or someone else from another company hearing about that, and maybe being able to connect with the guest, or with our guest, or being able to bring that technology to their job site and thus improving their whole company, like that's a dream. That's awesome. And just like we said, that's one of our values, a people connector, a problem solver, right? Problem solver, people connector, whatever order we put it in. But that is what it is. And I believe that laying foundations is that. It is a problem solver. We solve a lot of problems of people don't know a lot of things until they hear it on our podcast. That's the goal, right? And from there we can connect them. We have a website currently being worked on, and I think that's going to be a huge resource. And one of the options that we'll eventually get to is just being able to connect people. Hey, here's this guy. Here's this guy. Do y'all want to meet? This guy's from this industry. This guy's from this industry. Here we go. Even if you don't ever do anything with each other, now you have a contact, right? And people know people. You can get to whoever you want to through multiple different people, right? Because everyone knows someone. And so that's one of the goals with laying foundations. Honestly, another one is just, you and me both, I know, would love to speak, and I think that would be great. It'd be really cool to speak into the lives of students, of kids, of companies. I think one of the saddest things in the world is having someone who doesn't know their potential. A lot of people don't, and because they've been told by society, they've been told by people that they're no good, that they can't do this, they can't do that, and I think that's bullcrap. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can do whatever you want to if you are willing to, and
That's
if the
right.
Lord grants that to you. And I genuinely believe that a lot of people in society today have been stomped on so much that they won't ever reach their full potential, and because of that. And so by being a light to them, by speaking life into them, that is a huge goal with laying foundations for me personally. I know for you too. And so those are two. You come in and fill in the rest. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. Man, there's so many different things that I think on a daily basis of what we want to do, what we aim to do. I think you did very well of saying what we want to accomplish, but how and in which way that I do it. I want to, like you said, I want to remain faithful to God, and that's the one thing I constantly am. I don't want to say struggling with, but thinking about how do I witness to guys on my job site that are 20, 30 years older than me,
Yeah, that's
and
really good.
I try to every day with just, sharing some stuff in my own life and talking about my own testimony and how I got saved instead of, talking about what they're doing. But, being able to just be a light for people, like you said, in this world where like people have just gotten beat up and beat up and beat up and beat up. And, sometimes for most people, if you just keep doing it, they're going to believe it. Like
Yeah,
who was the guest that we had on that told, Stephen Winston, he told us about that, how
yeah. Speaking life.
you, right. Speaking life into other people. And I honestly, I got to get better at that. I got to get better at affirming you. I got to get better at,
Yeah, I do
the
too,
people on
man.
the job site. Like, I got to get better at speaking in because, like, people are just walking around aimlessly. And you can see it,
You can.
how finally we're getting out of COVID and people are, man, I just love seeing, and I'm going a different direction here, but I love seeing people's faces and talking to them and
Same. Yeah.
reacting to and seeing, okay, that I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay, that was a good one. They're laughing. But something that's been on my heart lately is, how you've went and gotten your real estate license. You have been working on your home builder's license. Whether you use those or not, you got to learn. Something that's been laying on my heart has been thinking about going and getting a counselor certificate of some sort
Do
because
it.
I just go and I listen to a lot of these guys in the trades on my job site, and I just listen to the stuff they've been through. And I can't help but to just, man, I'm going to be praying for you, man. I'm here for you. I'm going to listen to everything you have to say. I'm going to do whatever I can to help you because that is where that's what started my want for to even have this podcast was growing up, going to internships and meeting these tradesmen and seeing these guys that just work their absolute tails off and they
Yeah.
just get treated like the crap. And how do we get this industry to realize these tradesmen um, are what make this industry? We talked about before. I know I'm going to rant here, but stuff comes down from an owner and it gets shuffled all the way down to the tradesmen, and they're the ones that have to
Yep.
deal with it. And so, how can we help this industry to realize, we're going to help people, we're going to connect people. How can we make them to be a team? How can we make it and make people excel? How can we get people to get over themselves and be a team person? I'm going to put the team first. I'm going to put Walker above me. And ultimately, guys, whether you believe it or not, that's how Jesus lived. You don't have to agree with everything that we say about him, but I don't think there's anything wrong with someone that is willing to do something for the team over himself.
I
That's
agree.
just one of the simple things that I see in him, and trying to show that love and that light to everybody. That is what I want to get out of this. If, like you said, if we never get over 2 listeners, praise be to God on that. But if we do and it works out, I'm gonna be thankful for that too.
Yeah, man. I think that's awesome. Go get it. I will support you any way I can. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Right.
But I mean, I can't argue with anything you said. I think that's awesome.
Thank you, Walker. All right. Well, as we close, let's do this. Your last question here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate it as well as you because you've got it honed in. But if you can go back, I know it's 3 or 4 years down the road or previous. If you go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
Good question. Now I know what my guests feel like when we put them on the spot. Our guests. I think it's two things. I think one thing is like in you can people can call it a not naive. People can call it cheesy or not, but I think making sure Christ is your cornerstone is one of the biggest things because I know there's been up and downs in my life that I wish I did not have. By being more closer to Christ just in my daily relationship. I think that's huge. That is something I would definitely tell myself, dude, don't be stupid. I think the second thing is you can do a lot more than you think you can, but that doesn't matter, if you don't have friends in your life, if you don't have people that support you if you don't support people. I think that it's very easy to get selfish on a lot of things. And you do a fantastic job of just thinking about people, and just now talking about your counselor certificate. I think that's awesome. It's so people oriented, and just wanting to love them the best you can. And, it's very easy to get caught up in the me, and not think about others. And like the chosen said, if you don't make time for friends, you won't have any, and so just making sure to make times for friends, to call people more often, to reach out to my family more often, to not be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to talk to people. That's another one. As much as I talk to people, I still get nervous to talk to people and
Really?
to talk to someone new. Oh yeah, it's a muscle, dude. It's something I've had to work on.
Huh.
I still get nervous about reaching out or talking to someone random, or
I did not see that
insecure
at
about it or
all.
whatever. Oh
Okay.
yeah, all the time. But I get over myself and I go and do it anyway most of the time. Not every time, most of the time. And so those are three things. And I know I probably have a lot more and I probably have a lot better answer than those, but I didn't even think about this question today when we were talking about this interview.
Wow.
I should have been. So, but
No,
yeah, that's what I would leave.
think that was well put. The do not be afraid to talk to people. I think that's one of the huge skills we're learning. It's just whoever we talk to. Let's just
For
go
sure.
talk to them. They're just
Just
another
talk.
person. Just
The
another
worst,
person.
and the worst, here's another thing. The worst that can happen to you is no, right? I mean, if of any question you ask or any person you talk to, the worst that can happen is no. They walk away. They might be mean to you a little bit. I've had some people, from calls with the company I've worked with, cold calling people, be kind of jerks about different things. But that's the worst. It's a phone call. They don't know who you are. They're never gonna they're not gonna remember that, right? They're probably not gonna call you back. So what happens? No. All right, cool. Let me call someone else. Let me talk to someone else. Let me try someone else, right?
Right. That's right.
There's millions of people, billions of people in this world. There is going to be some people that you talk to that will say yes,
That's right. That's right. I think that goes back to grit too.
for
One
sure.
of the things about my role at Wrestle and Gory this in this project is, um, I've just been pestering the crap out of people. Yeah, like I'm laughing at myself because it's like I go to my superintendent. He's like, "No, like go home. Like just go somewhere. Leave me alone. Like just go." I'm like, "All right, okay, I get it." But he's just like that same thing. Like, what? Why does that hurt? He told me no. Cool, whatever. No, I will
Yeah.
go see him. I'm gonna go pursue him tomorrow. I'm
I'll
probably
ask
gonna ask him
again.
again. Right, and then he's finally gonna break down. But anyway,
Right.
Walker, man,
The greasy wheel gets the grease. Or,
that's
sorry, the
right.
squeaky wheel gets the grease.
That's right. And I'm trying to grease his wool up. He's getting close to wanting to retire, so just gonna get him sliding. But anyway, Walker, man, had a great time getting to know more about you. I'm sorry for having my own little rants in this. This is about
No,
you,
I
but
love it.
getting excited about where we want to go and where Walker came from. And um, I'm a little hurt he didn't tell you everything about him, but we're going to let it slide. But guys, thanks for joining the Laying Foundations podcast. Signing off is Davis Hamrick and my co-host Walker Lott.